I can do one more. This is a 1,000 horsepower package, right?
Yeah, it's factory. These make like 755 factory, and this is gonna be 1,000 pretty soon. Well. And action.
Got another badass video for you guys. Hope you enjoy it. 2019 ZR1 Corvette with our 1,000 horsepower package. Mr. Cooper, I believe from Austin, Texas. Here comes the build.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'll piss off.
Dude, this almost took me out.
Dude, every day it's like that for me.
We need to move it, bro.
Both of us.
All right, so behind me I have Mr. Cooper's 19 ZR1, I believe from Austin, Texas. Shipped it to us for our 1,000 horsepower package. Dan just finished the build on it. I think we're just, what are we waiting on? ECM now? Yeah, so they're waiting on me, like always. Dan's got his part done. Nick just got the ECM out of it.
The old one.
The old one?
Out with the old, in with the new.
So the new 19 ZR1s are a little bit different than a regular C7 or C7 Z06. We can't just hook up to the stock ECM, pull the file, and modify it. We have to actually send the ECM to HP tuners, have them unlock it, send it back, or we have to just buy a whole new one, which is what we do 99% of the time, so we're not waiting, which we did with Mr. Cooper's here. So Nick went ahead and, you already pulled the old one out?
Yep, that's the old one right there.
Cool. Old one is out, and he's got the new one going in, and these are the E99 ECMs. They are expensive as crap compared to the older ECMs that we used to do back in the day. Once he is done installing that, I will go over like the immobilizer relearn and a couple other procedures we have to do when we install a new ECM. It's not simple as taking the ECM out, plugging it in, and going down the road. So give him a few more minutes, he'll finish installing it, and then I'll just give you all a quick rundown of what I have to do on my part. Big Swole, I don't know how we can get his arms in there. I struggle myself, and I got little arms and little hands to change these ECMs out, but he's got the old one out, new one going in. Let's give y'all a quick preview of Mr. Cooper's beautiful 19 ZR1. Looks like you can follow him there. You got the new one installed? Got nice sexy wheels on her. Go ahead and lower it down and I'll do what I gotta do. Yep. New ECM installed. We're ready for programming. So essentially, the ECM comes with the VIN in it. We have to supply that, but after that we have to tell it to communicate with all the other modules, and then also the key fobs itself. So we have to program all that so the car will actually crank when we go to hit the button. So we'll do that as soon as he lowers this thing down. All right, battery hooked up. All right, so ignition on, HP tuners connected, replace ECM, make sure ignition is on the run position, car off, no data logging, Is the stock ECM installed? No. Nick installed the aftermarket one. Have you installed the new replacement? Yes. ECM replacement complete. So that's the quick and easy part. Now that that is done, now the fun part comes of using our MDI module. So HP tuners gets unplugged, MDI gets plugged in. And now I'm not gonna walk y'all through all the boring stuff because it takes quite a while to do this, but at least I'll give y'all an idea of what I gotta do here. Finishing up a little bit of stuff. I totally forgot to record doing the immobilizer relearn and syncing everything, but all that's done. And now we can actually pull the ECM, TCM, the fuel pump control module. And what we didn't show you yesterday also, the same way we did the ECM, you do the TCM as well. And the TCM on these are mounted in the back. And essentially the TCM comes locked from HP tuners. So we have to do the same thing. We have to buy a new one, do the program procedure just like I did with the ECM and install it. And that's where we're at now. So we have the ECM, TCM, and the fuel pump control module already pulled, ready to go. So now I'm gonna open up the ECM and I'm gonna go in my office and build my startup file for it, and then hopefully come back out in a little bit and fire it up for the first time. 2019, when these came out, it was like 6 months in when we started being able to unlock them, and why it was so expensive. You gotta buy the ECM, which is I think $2,500 or $3,000 from HP tuners. And I wanna show y'all, even after we buy the ECM, we're gonna flash this car for the first time. It asks for license options. I have 14 credits available for this particular ECM. So not only do we have to buy the ECM, but it still costs us 10 credits. So I have to select this, and 10 credits, that's $50 a credit, right? So it adds up quick. Now y'all see why we have to charge so much just to tune a 19 ZR1. And that's the reason why most of our customers do 1,000 or a 1,200 horsepower package, because you're already spending so much just to tune it.
Make some power, baby. Can't get out of these cars. We got it pretty safe right now. 19, oh yeah, super safe at 19 degrees of timing in here right now. 750 and 750, my friend.
We are in Mr. Cody Cooper's 2019 ZR1 Corvette. As y'all know, I've owned every model GM Corvette or Camaro has had since they've been coming out, and this is still my favorite platform to play with, whether you're driving it stock or modified. Now I will say we just recently completed a twin turbo C8 that will give it a run for its money, just because of how cool it sounds and how good it drives. But for now, let's talk about Mr. Cooper's 19 ZR1. He is from Austin, Texas, I believe, so not too far from us. We did our LMR 1000 horsepower package, essentially just all the bolt-ons with the addition of our custom grind camshaft. So stock supercharger, no porting, stock throttle body. Pretty much the main difference between this one and the next level up is porting the supercharger, larger throttle body, and then a little bit more fueling mods, and then we turn the boost up a little bit more depending on what fuel we're running. This car in particular is on 93 octane, making, I think it made right over 800 rear wheel horsepower. Again, the boost, don't quote me on it, but I think it was between 15 and 16 pounds. If we get time and some room up here, we'll do a little run and I can see how much boost she's making. But this car, it's hard to describe the amount of horsepower and torque this thing makes compared to other cars, just because it comes with the 2650 from the factory. It's just an efficient supercharger, so by adding simple bolt-ons to this thing, we gain tremendous horsepower. I think it baselined right at like 600 to the tires, and you're talking a 200 rear wheel horsepower increase. And as far as heat soak goes, compared to the 1.7 liters that come in the C7 Z06s, you don't have that. Like, we still have factory heat exchangers on this car. Granted, we're not spinning this blower that hard because he's on 93 octane and for what we're doing with it, but still, this car you could essentially drive every day if you wanted to. And this car on the highway, when you make those 60 to 130 pulls back to back, it's not going to heat soak nearly as bad as that 1.7 liter blower does. The other big advantage this car has over the C7 Z06s is it also has port injection on it. So obviously in 14, when the C7s came out, they changed from port injection, fuel injections, to direct injected. The C7 Z06 with 1.7 liter blowers only making 650 horsepower. So the factory mechanical pump and the factory injector for that vehicle was sufficient for 650 horsepower. GM knew by putting a 2650 on a pretty much the same short block as a Z06, more fuel would be needed. And I think instead of spending a whole bunch of money in R&D and a bigger mechanical fuel pump and bigger injectors, they just added a port injection to it, which in my opinion is a phenomenal idea. It's what we do with our C7s and what we did with our C7s back in the day before this car even came out. Cars that run straight E85 with big power, we put big fuel systems on them, meaning like 2 or 3 pumps in the tank, and we had a second set of injectors for the port injectors, and we had an aftermarket ECM to control it. Well, GM, again, knowing they needed that extra fuel, they went ahead and gave this car the port injection from the factory, which is pretty gangster. So later on, like I said, if he does want to upgrade this to our like 1200 horsepower package, we port the supercharger, turn the boost up, get it to make a little over 20 pounds of boost, and then depending on what fuel we run, whether E85 or a little bit of race gas, this thing can go from 800 to 1000 rear wheel horsepower pretty quickly. And again, it's still very reliable, just like all the packages we build. Like I said, I would let my father or mother even drive this car daily if they wanted to. It's just probably a little bit loud for them, but it's reliability and the strength of these motors is so sick. So we got it nice and fresh. And obviously I'm not gonna do anything stupid. I'll leave traction control on. This thing makes way too much torque to even try it with traction control off right now. And I'm not gonna go from second like I normally would with the Toyota. I'm just gonna go from third, do a quick little third to fourth gear pull and see what happens. traction control held it, and I ran it through the gears and it felt awesome. It's loud with the mufflers open, but that felt great. That's another thing with these with the ZR1s. You know, people always ask for, like, I don't say always, some customers ask for the burble tune. They like it on D-cell to like kind of pop and bang through the exhaust. These cars, almost from the factory with the extra port injection and stuff, they do it a little bit just from adding headers and stuff to them. We can obviously go crazy by doing stuff with the fueling and timing on D-cell, but on this particular car I didn't go and do anything crazy like it. He just wants it to drive nice and smooth. Obviously the camshaft at idle does shake the car a little bit from side to side, which most of our customers absolutely love. Let me look the log real quick. Let's see how much boost we're making. Right at 15.9, it's about 16 pounds of boost. Time I'll pull over and take a look at it, but I can tell right now the timing looks good and the airfield looks good just from looking at the narrow bands. And we do drive around when I test drive these vehicles with extra wideband in it, and it plugs in and I can log it through the HP tuners as well, so we can actually watch air fuel while we're out street driving these cars as well, because the dyno I have is an old dyno. It's an old Dynajet 224X. There's no load cell on it, so for the higher horsepower cars, especially the turbo cars, a loaded dyno helps spool the turbos and gives you more of a real world situation to simulate the car driving down the street or on a track. So again, I dyno the car, I get the tune up as close as I can with what we got, and then taking the thing on the street obviously 100% simulates what it's going to do. So adding the extra load to it does change the tune-up just a little bit. That's where I make my final changes. And then also, of course, transmission tuning. Most of these 8-speed autos, you know, I do enough packages I can get the transmission file pretty close the first time, unless the customer's just going to do something completely different with the car than your average guy. Will I change like the shift points in between different gears higher than others? But for the most part, I have a generic trans file for, you know, a weekend cruise that works phenomenal. That car shifted great right there. 3 to 4 and 4th to 5th was awesome. So Cody, I think you're gonna enjoy this thing. I'm gonna head back to the shop because it looks like rain is coming. Again, I'm sure you're gonna get used to it. At first it'll probably scare you a little bit on these tires, but probably 6 months or a year from now you get used to it. You want some more, send it back, or port the blower, put the throttle body on it, maybe put a little bit of race gas in or something, and a little over 20 pounds of boost, and we'll get up to 1,000 horsepower. I hope you enjoyed this video of Mr. Cooper's 2019 ZR1 Corvette. Those of you new to that channel, hit that subscribe button. Give it a big thumbs up if you like it. And as always, leave comments below. Want to hear what you have to say. Until next time, guys.